Yo, what's up, guys? Today we are talking about comps, right? We're going to go over pretty much every good warrior comp. We're going to talk about how to play it, what your goes are, what you counter, and what you get countered by. And the idea is, I guess every warrior has a different way they like to play, and different comps they like to play. Personally, I absolutely hate playing cleaves as a warrior. Um, it's just not for me. I've never enjoyed it for the last, 10 years. I've been playing Warrior, just never enjoyed playing a Cleave. I think maybe TSG at some point, really early on, was fun, and Kitty Cleave at some point in Kata. But I've always opted towards like at least Warrior ranged healer, right? And the healers I tend to push with have been Arshams and H-Pals, right? So, the first thing before we get into this, I really want to thank all of you for coming and supporting the stream and YouTube. Gotten a whole bunch of new followers, whole bunch of new subscribers to the YouTube as well. So, I really wanted to put some effort into this video as kind of like a thank you, and hopefully, it answers a lot of questions about how to play the comp. I've got this whole doc, this Google Doc, right? It's put into the Discord, our Discord community, which I've linked into the comments. So if you end up playing one of these and you don't want to have to go to the video every time, you can go and open up this Google Doc there. So join the community, ask any questions, send over any VODs, and happy to help you guys in any way we can. So let's jump into the first one, which is Warrior SP. Really strong comp. It's super durable. I think it's really good in the current meta, mainly because you have huge damage from the Warrior, really good peels from all three targets, and I like to play this comp with a H-Pal. I just think it's stronger. The synergy with the SP and H-Pal, like if the SP gets kicked, he can get bopped or sacked quickly, whereas Arsham feels a bit more risky. We'll kind of see which one people prefer. At the start of the season, it was very much Warrior SP Arsham, and I played this comp a lot in pre-patch and in the first couple of weeks of the season. The issue was at the start of the season, it was very susceptible to cleave. The game was way faster than it is now, and essentially they would just target your priest and just run him down like every single cleave, which really sucked. But now that the game's a little bit slower, it's much easier to kill, to beat these melee cleaves. You can usually drag the game out to at least your second go, where you're really strong, and you can kind of finish them off. And I think this is definitely one that is quite easy to play, right? So how you play it, and the main thing to focus on, obviously in all these comps, you want to be pumping damage, right? Get good at your rotation, get good at using sweeping strikes at the right time, spear, etc. Which is kind of covered in other videos of mine, so I don't really want to go over it again. The main thing I would look at is using intervene a lot and trying to synergize with your SP to like intervene so he can't get kicked on Master Spell against melee, or intervene him so you can get Shadow Priest, like he can get his mind games, he can get his VTs out, um, and maintain uptime as much as possible. Like in some comps, you don't want to just keep swapping, but here, if you can't reach a target, you should just instantly swap because the SP can just quickly move his damage across to the target you're swapping onto. It's not super reliant on like ramp up. Once the SP has his dots out, it's kind of up to you to call the targets. So what do your goes look like? Normally, you're going to Stormbolt the kill target, right? Whether it's a healer or a DPS. The priest stuns the off target and then silences the healer, right? Usually, sorry, the priest stuns the healer and then puts him into a silence. The other way you can play this is the priest can stun the off target and your paladin can hodge the kill target, sorry, the healer into a silence, or hodge the kill target with Stormbolt onto the healer, and then like a hex if you're playing with an Arsham. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can make this go. Essentially, you just want to line up Stormbolt, silence, and stun, pre-stun, and then the rest is just cherry on top, right? You can also use your fear, or the priest can use his fear. A lot of the times, the priest will have to compromise a lot of his position if he goes that deep for a fear. So it's actually good if you fear. So that's essentially the way you play it. Super straightforward comp. What does it counter? It counters RMP. It does really well into RMP. It's very hard for RMP to kill anything in this comp, and you just outlast them, and then the priest ooms, or you just kill the rogue before that. A lot of the melee caster comps can't really keep up with your pressure. So you have really high pressure, but also really good peels. So um, while you're rotating your like millions of defensive cooldowns and doing your goes, you're getting a lot more out of each team. And eventually, by your second or third go, the enemy team has nothing left and they just fall over. And I think it's really strong into wizard cleaves as well because you can just win with that mana advantage. A warrior SP will pretty much every single team much faster than double wizards are, especially if you play safe and you line on your goes and position well. What do you get countered by? I generally think melee cleave is really hard for this comp, unless you're really skilled and have good synergy. The melee cleave will just look at your SP and pop every single button, and often you'll have to walk through all of your CDs. If the melee cleave's smart, they'll just peel back on your go, and then on their go again, they come out with every single button, and your SP and healer have nothing left. Strong melee casters. Obviously, I just said it's really strong into melee caster, but there's some comps. I feel like warrior caster comps like Thundercleave, and in a way, warrior mage is okay into it. When we verse good warrior SPs, we kind of lose to warrior, like we end up losing, uh, because it's really hard to get a kill on anything. But I think like Thundercleave and you know maybe warrior Boomy is pretty good into it because warriors are just so strong into SPs. I think Windwalkers generally are also very strong into SPs because they bring another Dispel for Devouring Plague, but they also do huge damage into the SP, and they can just diffuse your mind games and dots on your go, which is really annoying. So that's Warrior SP, guys. Highly recommend if you're a new warrior to try this comp out. Very very fun, really easy. Okay, next comp, Turbo, right? Everyone loves Turbo. It's a very iconic comp. I just realized that I'm probably not zoomed in enough. I'll zoom in a little bit more. But obviously, like you can go and grab this whole thing on Discord. Insane damage with Turbo, right? You can last both targets, which forces so many cooldowns. And then on your second go, right, you force heaps of cooldowns with this first Bloodlust go. And then when they use all their buttons and those defenses fall off, you have another insane set of damage with Ascendance. And that syncs up really nicely with your second rotation of cooldowns, right, which is usually your second Colossal Smash. And it can really catch someone off guard. It's a super tanky comp as well. Warriors aren't easy to kill, enhancement aren't easy to kill, and the H-Pal isn't easy to kill either, right? You have off heals, utility, the ability to CC, shear, grounding, kick, reflect, stun, so much stuff, right? So you can really just dampen a game out because you'll them, or you play really, really aggressive and try and get a kill on like the second go. What are the cons? It can get kited, in my opinion, quite easily by good teams. And when I say kited, like you can obviously have really good uptime, but if a caster moves back, like, fully back into their team, what you'll find is that you're going to get stuck, right? Where you have to push in to stay offensive, but your healer is kind of ages away from you and susceptible to CC. What I recommend here is it's kind of like making sure your enhancement has really good game awareness to understand when to line and get out of there and just off heal, and just wait until your next go, right? So peel between those goes and keep your damage up, but don't try and compromise your position. Just hit whoever's near you. Like if you're versing something like SP Warrior as Turbo, if the SP runs super far away and your H-Pal is super susceptible to CC, just hit the warrior, right? Get damage out on him until your H-Pal can catch up and get a better position, then push in again. Try and trade really efficiently as well. If you can hold your defensives and trade them kind of one-to-one with their offensive cooldowns, you're going to win just because your offensive cooldowns will usually get 2 or 3 defenses from the team because you're doing huge cleave too. Your goes tend to be quite simple. It's just mainly damage. You stormbolt the kill target, and if you can shear, hex, or fear the healer on that go, it's really good. Um, it's not mandatory though. Like honestly, the damage that comes out of this comp is so insane that even if you're not in CC, a healer will have a really hard time healing this, and then be susceptible to like a hodge or a blind or a rep from your HPAL. Um, what it counters, I think it's honestly strong into almost everything if it's played correctly. It's really strong into SP teams and wizards. It's pretty good into other cleaves because it's a bit more tankier, and you have that intervene for the shaman and the off heals, but also the ability to just line and kite. Um, but you might still have trouble against stuff like really good ret warriors, because you don't have like any immunities in the same way. The H spell does bring like a bubble sack, but that only lasts like 8 seconds, and then you're really in trouble if he has to use both. Honestly feel like warrior mage paladin and like warrior like I think mage comps are pretty good into it if the mage is very good and like rotates his triunes and the warrior peels. If all of them use their buttons properly, it's quite hard for the turbo to win on certain maps, like Nagrand and Tolvaron. I think on maps like Ruins of Lordaeron or Hook Point, you are quite strong. Next comp is Warrior Mage Paladin, Warrior Mage Priest, Warrior Mage Druid. They're all very kind of similar. This is a comp I play. It's a very, very fun comp if you are planning to play with the same people for a while. You need to build the synergy to win these games, right? It really requires all of you guys to be playing really well and together. Like it's not like individually you have to play insane, but it's more just you can't be crossing a whole bunch of stuff over. I honestly feel like you have a chance to win every single game. Like, there's not a game where you zone in and you're like, okay, we just lose. Because you have these massive damage windows, you have consistent pressure, and you have so many defensives as well. It's very similar to Warrior SP. Cons are you can get, like, the mage can literally just get trained the whole game. And if they can't get damage and polys out, like, you can just slowly rot and lose to, like, Cleaves or, like, Warrior SP or, like, Windwalker SP, stuff like that. How do I play it? I like to start off like really early with just a stormbot on the kill target, and we just combust, and we force like we just force cooldowns with damage, right? And once those cooldowns fall, the healer is still susceptible to a poly, right? Because we haven't put him on any DRs. So once that Stormbolt is back off cooldown, we usually do a second go with, maybe it's Avatar and Spear, right? Which forces even more cooldowns, or, Avatar Bladestorm, just pump damage, right? Your goes tend to be, Fear or Hodge on the healer or DB into a poly with Stormbolt on the kill target. Usually you can get, 2 or 3 polys, and then you can Hodge or Fear. Like use whatever you didn't use on the healer after that. I think it's really strong into a lot of melee cleaves, and it's pretty even with other melee caster cleaves. And I think it's really good into RMP too. You're super tanky and you can just play super aggressive the whole game. You do, in my opinion, like the games that have been super hard for us have been Rets and DKs, weirdly, right? DKs have a lot of things to kind of stop the combust with like big AMS. They have like all that other shell and I forgot what it's called. It's anti-magic shell and anti-magic zone. They got both of those, right? The Rets have really good off heals, so it's usually sometimes hard to like close the game out on a Ret. And like that kind of gives them enough time where they can rotate self heals without using enough huge defensives that they can go offensive again on our healer and just like one shot him. So that's what I tend to find is really difficult. The gameplay is a bit different with a priest. With a paladin, you can actually play to mana in a lot of comps, right? Paladins are really, really mana efficient when they're in an aggressive comp. The priest variant is a much less mana efficient, but you have way higher burst. So with a priest, you're looking to close the game out in maximum 2 to 3 goes, right? With a druid, I don't know. We played some warrior mage druid. It's okay. It felt like mana was a really big win condition, and the druid just kind of sits really far away and clones the off targets to reduce pressure. It's okay. I think the druid variant could be really strong in the future. If druids get a little bit of a buff, maybe paladin priest gets little bit of a nerf, right? And the meta slows down generally. I do think WMD will pull ahead. Warrior Boomy H Pal. This is kind of a new comp, as in people used to play it in other seasons, but I think this is a season where more people are playing it than ever. What it's good at is you can have these really fast instant goes, right? You get root beam and you stormbolt the kill target, and you have crazy burst if you line up a go on that target. What I think is awkward is that the druid can just get trained all game, and if they're convoke, right, and they don't get a convoke off, it just feels super awkward. Like you're doing damage to a target, but you're kind of spamming intervene. The druid's not getting much out. He's not cloning and he's not doing damage. He's just sort of sitting in bear form. And your peels like are good, but they usually don't give him enough distance where you can start free casting again. But you are very durable. So mana is obviously a win condition here with a H power. How do I play it? I like to obviously line up some form of CC on the healer and Stormbolt, and then you just get your druid to pop off. Whether it's Kyrian or Night Fae, it doesn't really matter. If it's Night Fae, you might want to intervene the druid to stop kicks, or feed the off target so he can get the full convoke off. But generally, just do as much damage as possible in those windows, and then you can also look at potentially winning on mana because druids don't take much damage. They have a lot of self heals. The H power is quite mana efficient, and then warriors sort of slowly rot the whole team down. So, and where's the next one? Warrior KFC, right? Um, KFC is not my favorite comp, man. It is not feeling too good to play. I played it a bit on my alt, about 2.1 CR, right? Not fun. Synergy is very meh. I feel like traps are hard to get for the MM, so you have to use a Stormbolt on the what's it called on the healer, which to get the trap, which is fine. But then you don't really have a lockdown on the kill target except for Hodge, and that means your goes aren't the way they used to be. Like you used to be able to Hodge Stormbolt the kill target, and then trap off onto the healer, right? Because a hunter can get the traps himself. But a lot of hunters right now can't seem to get their traps a lot. Um, and you need lockdown so the MM hunter can get all his aim shots out and his burst. I think warrior burst is really good, but it's just not as high as sub rogues or rets, which work really good with hunters at the moment. I'd recommend playing defensive until you go. Try and get as much pressure out because if you do get the CC chain off, it can be really, really long. It can be something like Hodge on kill target with Stormbolt trap on the off target into a fear, into like repentance or blind. And if it's with a disc, you can Stormbolt the kill target and the disc can go for like a Door of Shadows into fear into trap. I wouldn't recommend playing this if you're really looking to push. It's unless your friend's a hunter, it's not too enjoyable. Windwalker Warrior HPAL or Disc or Arsham. I mean, to be honest, you can play this with anything. I think HPAL is definitely the strongest variant just because HPALs are so good. Huge damage. Like you have insane consistent damage, you have crazy mobility, and you have the ability to dampen games or just win them in a go, right? Which is always the kind of comps you want to play because if you don't have an idea about how to beat something, you can always usually just play for mana. The cons are Windwalkers are quite squishy, so they're susceptible to getting one shot. So you really need to play around your cooldowns. Your Windwalker's probably going to have to kite a lot if they have to use Trinket and Karma early, or Trinket Wall early. You want to be intervening your Windwalker and playing defensively, like hyper defensively on enemy goes, so your Windwalker can live. Um, the goes tend to be like you have a Hodge, Incap, or Fear on the healer. You sweep 2 DPS into a spear with Blade Storm, Zuan, and Images, and you just absolutely blow up two enemies at once, right? Very similar to The Walking Dead, but a lot more mobile, so you have the ability to swap too. I'd honestly say that you guys are probably one of the comps that can seriously blow up healers. Like you have so much damage onto a healer, so really look at swapping onto healers too. I feel like it counters a lot of melee caster teams. Probably really strong into a lot of cleaves too, just because of how much pressure you put out. And that sort of relies on how good your Windwalker is at kiting. What you get countered by, I think really good wizards or affliction locks can kind of drag you out of position and then give your Windwalker or just rob both of you. Um, Super high bursty like Ret Warrior disc cleaves can just like one shot your Windwalker out of nowhere, and good RMPs can like set up nicely to blow up your Windwalker and really stop you. But at lower ratings, this comp will absolutely farm if played correctly. Frost, TSG. I don't think Unholy is viable at all right now. Like you can play it, and it's probably gonna. If you're an insane Unholy DK, an insane warrior, you'll go up in rating. But at the moment, it feels like Frost is the play. So with Frost, you want to just play around your goes. You don't want to be super hyper aggressive and overextending when it's not your goes. Your DK needs to react a lot of the times with AMS, AMZ, um, and IBF, so that you can play somewhat offensive. If he uses all his defensives at once, then it's really hard for you to push in because you can always just randomly kill the DK. Generally, the way to play it is you grip two targets, you get the Frost DK Sleet out, the Frost DK stuns everything, and you can like spear at the same time and just Blade Storm off that. And then the last one we're going to talk about, War Red Disc. Huge damage with War Red Disc. Like, it's nuts. There's so much good synergy between Ret and Warrior right now. Like, Rets tend to be quite squishy, but then Warriors can intervene and distance to provide them more tankiness. And that tankiness means it can live long enough to get enough holy power to keep off healing. Um, and, like, you can always hodge the healer and Stormbolt the kill target, or vice versa. Um, so you have this consistent, often goes with like massive damage the whole time. It's really awkward if a game is dragged into dampening if your Disc Priest isn't looking at mana and drinking consistently. Obviously, you should probably try and kill them in 2 to 3 goes, but if you do need to play out a game because the enemy team's playing super defensive, let the Ret heal a bit more, let the Disc try and drink. Your goes are what I just said. Um, I just got something in my throat. Hodge on the healer, Stormbolt the kill target, fear off the Hodge, and then Big Damn on that kill target. It counters a lot of melee caster comps like any cleave. I feel like it's pretty good into everything, and it's viable. Like, it's kind of like Warrior Mage Priest. Like, you could probably win. Sorry, Warrior Mage Paladin. You can probably win into everything. You probably will get countered by like damp comps, really really good wizards who can kite and just make your like life miserable for the ret. And I guess highly skilled RMPs as well. But I mean, a really good RMP stands a chance against anything. So uh, I will be uploading more updates to this and putting more detail. We're going to have something on Warrior DH, Kitty Cleave, Thunder, and WLP. I haven't played these comps and I haven't played against many of these comps yet, so I don't really know how they play in Shadowlands. I don't want to just talk shit and have nothing substantive to give you guys. So once I see more of this, or if I can find a stream of someone playing this, I'll update this, and then a final mention is Warrior Prop Paladin Disc. And unfortunately, fellas, I will not be telling you how to play this comp because I don't want to see it on ladder. It's not fun to play against. It's a very boring playstyle. It's a crutch. You're going to be a worse player for playing it, right? You are going to get used to a Prop Paladin. And look, the door just slammed behind me from the wind. So it's ominous, right? Don't play this comp. Like, you're not going to get the only, like, this is a confession. I have played this comp before, right? In last season, we were versing a lot of casters on my warrior. One of the rep paladins I knew swapped to prot. We pumped. We did really well. Did it feel good? Absolutely. It felt awesome. Should I have done it? Well, I mean, I don't really care. They were versing MLX. But generally, it's probably not a good idea if you're trying to learn warrior and play better to play warrior prop paladin disc, because I mean, you're not going to be distancing at the right times because you don't really need to. Your prop paladin can just heal you. um, it's a very strong comp, but I don't think it's as strong as it was last season, to be honest. So overall, don't play it. Play it. You have so many other comps you can play. You don't have to play this one. Pick a different one. All right, guys. Follow the stream, twitch.tv, WarRedXYZ. Going to be streaming way more. I'm streaming sometime when this video comes out as well. Join the Discord community if you want this full guide and you want to chat to other warriors and chat to me about, your playstyle, what's going on. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. I've got some more commentary, VOD reviews coming out. I'm going to have a rotation of my own games as well. I'm streaming at that 2800, 2900 CR push, which we're going to try and do over the weekend, try and get that 29 in, maybe go for 3K in a couple of weeks too. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe to the channel, throw us a like, comment, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace.